This is a Martin Guitar Mythbuster. We're going to set the record straight today. 6 changes happened big time to the Standard Series.
Yeah.
So much confusion. Forums are ablaze. Can we set the record straight?
Absolutely.
Let's start at the top.
Let's start off with tone. Inside, you'll notice GE-inspired bracing.
All the bracing is just more refined and sanded back.
Number 2 is bone bridge pins across the board. Except for 18s, they're going to get ebony. So natural materials all around. And that mates really nicely with the saddle and nut being bone.
I love it. I love it.
So we have a new bridge shape here. GE Modern Belly Bridge. So same footprint as before, except you're gonna notice a lot more shaping done to really smooth out every corner. So if you're resting on the bridge, as many players do, really soft. Fingerboard.
Okay, this one's Forum Blazer here.
All right, I love it.
Let's dig it.
So this is a thinner fingerboard based on our authentic spec. So just overall a little thinner. And what we found in our research is beefing up the barrel just a little bit, thinning out the fingerboard a little bit, helps to balance and allow access. It's just one of those things that's very subtle, and also it's another vintage cue, so it really tied in nicely with.
So it's much more vintage accurate to what was done.
Yes.
And it got a little thicker over here.
Yes.
And now we're just fixing it.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah. And to add to that, on the fingerboard, we're adding what we call a comfort bevel. So just a slight bevel on the edge of the fingerboard, so it rounds everything off nicely. On the back, aesthetics, longer diamond. So again, just another vintage cue. Diamonds are now the proper longer spec that you would have found in our golden era.
So that's 5, and I think the last one is going to be, if I remember from the forums, was to talk about the nut.
Last but not least, basically what we're getting here is, again, vintage spec. So back in the day, these would have been cut, more in the head plate area, we call on angle. Over time, for manufacturing constrictions, it was easier to do it on the flat of the fingerboard, but we found ways to advance that where we can do it either way, whichever is preferred. And for this series, we preferred the angle because we're going after more vintage cues. So there we are.
Putting all those things together, it's a more playable instrument.
Yes.
It's a more balanced sounding instrument.
We feel so.
The more vintage aesthetic, kind of harkening back to the days that began this whole thing.
Yes, absolutely.
So you heard it here.